What's up? Welcome in to Hold My Banner, one-stop shop. Everything you need Celtics, everything you need NBA. I'm George Bilecki. He's my man, Ante Campbell. We got a stack show for you guys today. Tate, let's get right into it. I know normally I'll talk a little bit, go through. No. We got a good show. Don't you worry. Tay always got us set. Wait, hold up. Let me do an audible. Peep the shirt, Tay. I like it, my guy.
Yeah, you know what I'm
MJ
saying?
in a barber chair?
MJ, yeah, in that barber chair, man. You know, looking good. I love this shirt, bro.
Back when MJ had hair?
Yeah, when it was important it's for him to have hair. Once he let the hair go, he became the man he is today, George.
That's when he became iconic. Black Jesus right there on the court. All right, let's get into it. We saw, going through Twitter, we're in the dog days of NBA offseason because we just want this season to begin. Under 40 days away. This is what we're talking about. Derrick White at the Buffs game. Colorado getting the dub over Colorado State. Derrick White, some fan getting into him. I would not want to mess with Derrick White, bro. The reach, he's got the toughness. He's probably that nice guy you don't want to piss off, and he was about that life here too.
Yeah, he definitely was. Like you said, it's definitely the offseason because we're out here talking about him having a fight at the Colorado State, Colorado Buffs game. Man, I wouldn't fight him either. A bald guy, I'm not. Look, we were just talking about Jordan being bald. I wouldn't want to fight Derrick White as a bald guy either because if he's bald at a young age like Derrick White is, he doesn't care about his image or anything like that. He will mess your face up and probably mess his up in the meantime as well, like his chipped tooth.
Also, who's doing this? If you go to Colorado, went to Colorado, if you're associated with Colorado, you guys have nobody. Shador, Dion, Travis, they're all leaving after this year. They are gone.
Right.
He's the only alumni you got, the only significant alum that you have. What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to make sure that he's out there being safe and protected because I believe, this was a Colorado State fan that was out here trying to beat his face in or whatever he was doing with that spinning back fist that he threw. But, man, that's the guy in Colorado. He deserves the respect. He's the best Colorado State, Colorado alumni we have in the NBA. So respect him.
Spinning back fist. That's what you get from some MMA hardos out there in Denver training at some gym or something, I feel like. What are we doing, bro? Leave Derrick White be.
Yeah, man. That was a terrible moment. And he's such a nice guy. Dude, how can you get mad at Derrick White? I'm sure there was alcohol involved at some point during this altercation for sure.
And that's the thing, too, of D. White sitting through his pressers anytime you talk to him. He's the last guy that wants to be in front of a camera.
Yep.
You know what I love about Derrick White is he's a hooper in the sense of we're making this money. I'm just here to show up and play basketball.
Yeah.
Do we have to play in front of all these fans? Does this game have to be on ABC? Do we have to be in this big arena? Do we have to go to Dubai? He's I just want to show up, ball in the Olympics, ball in the NBA. I just want to play basketball. Yeah. And then everything else comes with it. He's having his cake and he's eating it too, and he deserves it all.
He is. And look, I'm telling you right now, I've seen the lower levels of college basketball. A guy like Derrick White who came from the lower levels of college basketball, grinded his way to Division I, grinded his way into an NBA roster, you know what I mean? Had to play G League with the Spurs and then got onto the Spurs finally. Dude, this dude is not a dude that you want to mess with at all, bro. Even though that nice guy thing, man, don't let it fool you. Don't let it fool you.
Where was he at? It was University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Yeah. You're in low-level school, man. D2 ball. I covered a lot of Missouri Southern, Pittsburgh State in Missouri. Pittsburgh State's in Kansas. I don't have to get into why. It's Pittsburgh without an H. It's actually how it's spelled Pittsburgh. There's a Pittsburgh in California without an H, too. Shout out Cali. I know Tay likes that.
Yep.
If you're a D2 baller, or I've gone to the JUCO gyms, too, to cover NEO, A&M, on schools like that. Those are the people that love the game. Yep. And there's some great D2 hoopers out there. Derrick White is obviously a prime example. I've seen the great Northwest Missouri State teams that have run and won national championships that basically were the Golden State Warriors of the D2 level. Witness that firsthand. Yep. But like you said, Tate, you're a different breed if you're willing to make that sacrifice to go D2 and bust your ass to go D1. And then after you do that, they're all right, G League. For the Spurs, too? For the Spurs?
Right.
Fight his way up.
And for people who don't know, it's it doesn't go in the order that you think it would go, right? It's Division I is the top of the cream of the crop, right? And then after that, it's actually kind of D3 and then NAIA, and then kind of D2, NAIA, D2 kind of on the same level. But D3 schools are actually better about offering their kids, academic scholarships and finding academic scholarships for their student athletes than D2 schools are. So usually the talent pool is a lot better at the D3 level than it is at the D2 level. So for him to come from that to where he is now, man, salute Derrick White for sure. That's tough.
The one thing I'll give, and I always talk about, we bring it up in the combo of like balling in Europe versus, if you're going through the G League path, like the sacrifices some of these guys want to make.
Yep.
Spurs G League team's in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
I'd rather be in Austin, Texas than San Antonio. Like, they got to flip those. They got to make something, but you can't take the team out of San Antonio and everything they've done there. But of all times,
are you full of your Charles Barkley right now? Is that why? Are you letting Charles influence you on San Antonio?
You want to play for the Sioux Falls Heat? Sioux Falls?
Okay, I'm good off of that.
There's nothing in Sioux Falls, bro.
You're right.
I am not playing there.
You're right, but at least give San Antonio some respect, all right? It's not that bad of a city.
Bro, what do they got? Like a river that you walk by?
And that's coming from me. Look, I went to UTEP, UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio is our rival, so I have to hate San Antonio, and I still am giving it more credit than you're giving it.
San Antonio or Oklahoma City?
San Antonio, for sure. For sure.
I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah, there's nothing in Oklahoma, bro.
Don't do it.
There's nothing.
San Antonio.
I've been to OKC. Same thing. I've been to OKC. I've been to Tulsa, and I'm like, I like Tulsa better.
Yeah.
San Antonio, Austin, I'd rather be in Austin.
Yeah. Look, I know you're a man that's spoken for, so I'm not saying this for you. I'm saying this for our listening audience and our viewing audience, the women down in San Antonio. Bon appetit.
I've never been, and I'm retired, so I'm not going to find out. Cleveland or San Antonio?
I'm going to roll with Joakim Noah and say, F Cleveland. I'm rocking with San Antonio, bro.
There's you go to Cleveland, probably 2 months out of the year, you can enjoy the Great Lakes.
Yep.
There's nothing out there.
Man,
bro, all. That's why I look at a guy like JJ Redick. Went to Duke. You were the man at Duke.
Yep.
Went to Orlando. There was a half season in Milwaukee. Went to Philly. Went to Brooklyn, right? Yep. I might be leaving off a team. But his path of locations of being an All-American, the biggest name in college hoops, and playing at Duke and being the man, and then cities like Orlando, Philly, Brooklyn, all that. Just only spending a half season in Milwaukee. That's important too. There's locations and where you want to be. Imagine for Derrick White, bro, going from Colorado Springs to Boulder. Boulder's sick. Going to Austin, downgrade to San Antonio. Then you're up in Boston. You're like, all right, this is the fine living.
Yeah. He's definitely made it. He's hit the mountaintop. No question about that. Oh, man.
I'm not going to Cleveland.
Speaking of hitting the mountaintop, I have to ask you this because this was a question that was posed to us before we walked in the door today. When does Asia Wilson and Bam Adebayo go official and do a hard launch for everyone in the world to know for sure they're together? Do you have a date in mind?
Her third when she wins the MVP for this season.
Yeah.
When she's getting that award, getting that honor. Oh, boom, I got you. No. The first game after that MVP, when she takes the trophy to Vegas and before the playoffs start, they have that moment. Asia Wilson, 2024 WNBA MVP.
Yeah.
Crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Hoists up the trophy, shows it off.
Yeah.
Camera cuts. Bam Adebayo. Sitting courtside, clapping. Right there, playoff opener at home in Vegas.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm thinking the same thing there. Or I'm marking that statue night for D Wade. Obviously the city's gonna be on fire out there in Miami. Bam's gonna be ready to celebrate a win after they smack the Pistons, having fun. They're gonna be turning up like D Wade's back in 2004. Man, I think that's kind of the time where I'm looking or 2006. Yeah, man, they're going to be out there. He's going to be fun, and he's going to want to show off his woman for sure.
It would have to be the latest a Heat home opener, the earliest a playoff opener for the Aces. Maybe if the Aces get another ring on the court after, maybe Game 1 WNBA Finals.
Could
Vegas
be.
Liberty.
Could be.
Bro, they have the Aces social team, the admin is on board. Bam! That's it. They know what they're doing. Everyone knows. When the hard launch happens, playoff home opener. Let's do it. I'm calling that.
All right. I believe in that. All right. Now let's talk about another team. The Dallas Mavericks are the team that we finally have gotten to. This is going to end our NBA preview of the Western Conference. Ooh. And we'll start with the East next episode. Okay, of course. So we got to, of course, match up with the team that we face off in the finals here in Boston, the Dallas Mavericks. George, we obviously know they got Klay Thompson. How else do you feel about their offseason as a whole and what they're going to do in this upcoming season?
What I do like is they bring back a lot of the core that made it to the finals. They lost Derrick Jones Jr. He signed with the Clippers. But then you add a guy in Klay that is still 18 points a night and 39% from three. Yep. And playing off of Kyrie and the Luka with that veteran leadership. Like, he's not prime Klay, but he still is Klay. Like, he's not washed. Yeah. Like, he's just on the back nine. So I think they get something out of that. Bro, my biggest question mark is the same thing I said about the Pelicans. With the Mavericks, what are you going to get from your superstar? How motivated will Luka be this offseason? How motivated was he this offseason? What shape will he show up in? Not just in October, November, but is he going to have his legs under him and the durability? He plays hard. He shows up every single night. I love that about him. He wants a ball in his hands. He wants the lights to be bright. But is he going to be in the conditioning, in the shape when teams are throwing their toughest defenders at him? He has to get through a tough Minnesota team. He has to get through a Thunder team again with Luka Doncic, who was giving him issues matched up on him. Like Drew Holiday, Jalen Brown, perfect build to slow down a Luka, who's so big and such a skilled ball handler and knows what to do when someone's on his hip. Like, that's when he's most lethal and will step back and shoot. So you're asking me, how do I feel about their offseason?
Yeah.
I can't answer that. I have to know what Luka did with his.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing I say with Zion. The opposite effect goes on with Luka. Every summer we get a video, a picture of Zion looking slim, strong, whatever, and we're like, oh, okay, here we go. Every offseason with Luka, they call him Luka Doncic, you know what I mean, for a reason, because it looks like he's been enjoying his offseason. Luka Doncic.
Trust me, I know Luka, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it looks like he's enjoying his offseason. Looks like he's enjoying some good food out there in Europe and just chilling, not thinking about basketball. And he comes in at the beginning of the season usually, and he looks like he's tired. Like you said, because he's out of shape. So if Luka is locked in, like you said, this offseason could be a good one for them, considering that. That's all you really need, right? A locked-in Luka from jump to finish, you know what I mean? But my thing is, besides Klay, because that's really the question mark for me. I have no idea what we're going to get out of Klay Thompson, and I have no idea what we're going to get out of Jason Kidd, because there is going to be a point in this season when the Mavericks aren't going to play good basketball for a string of games, however long that may be. And Klay is going to be an integral reason why that is happening. He's going to get into shooting slumps, which he always has done. He's a streaky shooter, a really good shooter when he's on. But when he's off, it can be really, really tough nights. And he doesn't have the defense that kept him on the floor during those Warrior championship runs that they had anymore. He just doesn't have it with the Achilles injury that he had a couple of years ago. It's gone. So my thing is, are you going to be willing to sit him, Jason Kidd, when those problems happen? Because Steve Kerr did, and he took too long to do it because of the things that Klay did for that organization. But besides Klay, I like their Najee Marshall get. I like their Spencer Dinwiddie get, because he's familiar with that team and that offense and how to be around those guys, playing with Luka, playing with a talent like Kyrie. He's done that before. And then I also like them getting Quentin Grimes as well, because those are Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, two guys who are locked in on defense. And we know that Klay and Kyrie and Luka,
that's where you're going to get exposed.
They really just don't have it.
I wonder what Quentin Grimes we get. Because he was with the Pistons, bro. Like, I think it'll be refreshing, and I think we'll get that bump back to those New York Knicks, Quentin Grimes, who can even, like, bro, if he's getting you 10 a night, like, that's a huge boost, along with what he brings defensively. And Spencer Dinwiddie, a long vet, can be a starter. That's 28 minutes a night, 12 points a game. Najee Marshall boost, too. They have to get better defensively, because they have to make up for their two best players being guys that just don't show up in that category. And then that goes back into it with Luka of, if you're in better shape, You can be a guy on the other end of the floor. You don't have to be the dude,
Mm-hmm.
but can you be a dude? And they need that from him. I did like those additions. I like that you brought it up, especially Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, a vet, been in the league, familiar with Kyrie going back to their Brooklyn days.
Yep.
It is. It's how do you handle, if you're Jason Kidd, how do you handle a Klay Thompson? If you're Jason Kidd, how do you handle a Kyrie Irving too? He had a good year in Dallas. I think him being in the same building as God Sham God has helped him out immensely, because that's a guy that goes back to his hooping days, who's really tight with his dad.
Yep.
As basically like family, and they got him to lock in and focus on basketball. Like, I'm not gonna knock anyone for, you should be more than just a hooper. You should be more than just an athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
Be yourself off the floor. But like, we know what Kyrie did and the misinformation he was spreading and just the bigoted stuff he was putting out there. And it's, dude, like, be smarter with your circle around you. Just be smarter in what you stand up for. And if you focus on basketball, you're one of the most talented in the world. That's what they got out of him. Can they get it again? Because it's been the Kyrie, reformed Kyrie, right? Getting back into the graces of everyone in the public eye, and everyone around the league absolutely loves him. There couldn't be enough praise about him. They go, why did everyone in Boston hate him? Like, it wasn't Kyrie's fault. It was Kyrie's fault. Stop showing up for the team, abandoned them. A young core was supposed to be a leader, calling out the vets on the roster. It was all Kyrie's fault. Can he not be that Kyrie again? I think that's huge for this Mavericks team too.
Yeah,
and this is in a Western Conference. It's getting better, Tay.
Yeah, like you said, it's important for Kyrie to focus on basketball right now, because there's one quote that I always thought about when I was playing basketball, and there's a lot of things that come with it, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it as well off the court, as no question about that. The thing is, keep the main thing the main thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So basketball is the reason that we know who Kyrie Irving is. Not saying that he's not a great human being outside of that, but his contribution to the world for most people is going to be what he did on the basketball court, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? So he needs to focus on making sure that his team is in a position to win games, because his legacy matters. Because him being in a good light, he can spread the positive messages that he's trying to spread. You know what I mean? But that's only going to happen if you win games, honestly. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there who play basketball who are doing a lot of great things that I don't know anything about, because the main thing isn't that great. That's just the honest truth. For Kyrie, he needs to focus on hoop. Now, going back to Luka, right, like you said, he is the reason that all of this is happening, all of this is going on, all of the conversation, the finals, everything that happens in Dallas goes through Luka, right? We know that here we have Jason Tatum, and anytime Tatum even sneezes the wrong way, the media blows, oh my God, Jason Tatum sucks, blah, blah, blah. He's the reason the Celtics were never going to repeat, never going to win the championship, blah, 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 whatever. When do we get that for Luka? Because, trust me, I love Luka's game. He's one of the best offensive weapons we've ever seen in NBA history, right? But James Harden gets slack for playing the same style that Luka does. LeBron James, early on in his career, got the slack for playing the way that Luka plays, which is ball dominant, dribble. I'm only kicking it if I got a dime coming, and everybody has to figure it out around me, right? Yeah. Everyone else has gotten this slack. Luka Doncic has somehow evaded this convo. So when do we start having that conversation, George?
I mean, he's been to the playoffs 4 times. And just once in his career, he's averaged less than 29 points per game in his series. And that was this past Western Conference semis when he was putting up 25, 10, and 10. So the assists and the rebounds are still there. And I think you mentioned it's a ball-dominant play that he does play with.
Yep.
But when you're as skilled as him, and at least, like we joke about, bro, like my disdain for Jimmy Harden. At least Luka plays that way. And then end of the game, end of the half, end of the quarter, clutch moments, like he wants the ball. And like that's the one thing where I'll give him the credit. He takes the shot. Like you want to see your best players take a shot, a good shot, or set up for a good play. And like he has that ability.
Yep.
If they fall short of the Western Conference semis, then I think we start hearing that. Or if they get run off the floor in the Western Conference semis.
Yeah.
Like if we see the Thunder pass them, if we see the Timberwolves pass them, and I'm saying pass them like handedly, easily, persuasively, where this Mavericks team, with the additions they made on defense, the experience they picked up for guys like Derek Lively, who exceeded expectations his rookie season. And again, with the Luka, like, how motivated are you going to be? What type of player will you be?
Yeah.
Because this is a guy you always get 65, 66 games minimum per season, normally get around 70. And in the playoffs, he's battled through his injuries. But yeah, exactly, to show up. And you know what, too? If he stops bitching, if he just stops every call, same thing with Tatum, which is like everything, crying on the floor. If he stops doing that, I think that helps him too. But to your point, it is. I mean, it's gotten them to the Western Conference Finals twice, his game. And just going through his series, these are all from his first playoff series when he was bounced in the first round of 2020. These are his lines.
Okay.
31, 10, and 9. Now 2021. 36, 8, and 10. 2022. 33, 10, and 7. 32, 9, and 6. And then their 2024 run. 39 and 9. 25, 10, and 10. 32, 10, and 8. 29, 9, and 5. That's when we saw those assist numbers drop off. But that was against an elite defensive team that could switch on everything and also gave them trouble. But like, those numbers are absurd.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers don't lie, but we also know that the defensive numbers aren't there. We see him standing straight up and down and not interested. And don't get me wrong, I gave him a lot of credit on Hold My Banner many of times for the effort that he gave throughout the playoffs this year on the defensive end of the floor. He was there. He was locked in. He was sitting down in the stance until he saw the Celtics. I don't know what went out the window when he saw the Celtics, but maybe you can say he was tired.
Jalen that he saw. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it was almost like he saw a ghost of Christmas past, and he was like, I got to go back to the way I was because I got to score the ball because Kyrie obviously didn't show up on that end. That's how I feel. So I'm nervous about like this Luka discourse of like, oh, he's impenetrable. And I think it's going to continue. Honestly, I think people are going to still give him slack because if this team does underperform to whatever anybody's expectations are, it's easy to scapegoat Kyrie. He was a scapegoat everywhere he's been, right? It's easy to scapegoat Klay. He was a scapegoat last year with the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? And if they don't reach the heights, we probably will get a lot of the same things, right? Kyrie not showing up when you think he should, right? Klay missing shots that you think he should make and, just being uninterested in, playing within an offense and shooting bad shots. You know what I'm saying? We'll probably see those similar things if they aren't successful. So I get it, but I think it's time. Last year was year 7 for Tatum, and you could not go on Twitter after a Celtics game without hearing something about Jason Tatum in a bad fashion.
Bro, after one of the best seasons we've ever seen, too.
Exactly. This is year 7 for Luka. This is year 7 for Luka. So it's time to put the pressure on him the way we put the pressure on all of the other superstars around the league.
I think that's a good point. And that being it, where we've seen him in this spotlight so many times. And we've seen different head coaches, different number twos. I mean, this is the best roster that he's played with since he's been into the league. And we see how him and Kyrie can play off each other. Again, 2 ball-dominant guys, though. Both that want to be slashers, attack the hoop. And Luka has no problem stepping back and shooting. Yeah. That's where it is of if he doesn't get to the finals. And then how is he carrying himself in the playoffs? Crying at everyone, yelling at his teammates, yelling at the refs, yelling at everyone but himself. Right. But then I also love the Luka that we saw of like chirping Wick Grossbeck sitting courtside, too. Like he is about that life. He is. But he has to step up for sure. If they fall short of the finals, but they take it down to the wire, and this is a Thunder team both you and I see taking a huge leap, or if it's a Timberwolves team led by Anthony Edwards who takes a leap himself, who isn't there yet, right? We've seen the love for Luka, how fun it is to watch him play. Now it can start to turn. Anthony Edwards, let's enjoy this right now while everyone is rooting for him. Because like you said, 5, 6, 8 years from now, it's going to be hate because it's all they see. Yep. It's also it's Luka with Dallas. If he was wearing green, if he was wearing 100%. Purple and gold. Yeah, 100%. If he was wearing blue and orange, it'd be different. It would. It definitely would. I did want to ask you before we switch off of the Dallas Mavericks, are there any bets that you like from this team or this season? Because of their additions they've made defensively, this is a 50-win team, and I saw their win total 49.5. Yeah. I like the over. 52 wins, 54 wins. That's the 3 seed in the West. Let's see what else happens. That could be the 4-3, and this is also both of us, again, where we're expecting the Nuggets to fall back to be in the 4 seed. Yeah. But that's like a number right on the line. Yeah. And we know Luka shows up. again, with the additions they made defensively, good scores, another good starter in Spencer Dinwiddie coming in. The DJJ loss is significant, but it's not that significant. I expect this team to take a step forward, especially another year of Kyrie with Luka, and them seeing what it takes them to get that far. But we'll see how much gas they have too. Because that 49, that's a perfect number too. That's what I look at. They had 50 wins last season, but I think they're going to be better in the regular. This is a better team. This is a better roster.
Yeah.
And that's why I like that 50 plus.
Where I get nervous is regular season Luka playing defense, regular season Klay playing defense after winning 4 championships, regular season Kyrie, is he going to be there? He doesn't always stay healthy. This is a lineup up front that makes me extremely nervous on defense, and a matchup that everyone's going to circle on their calendar now that you had an appearance in the finals last season. So I'm actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. I wouldn't bet it because I'm not a betting man, but
you could be a betting man.
I would be under. I would shoot the under on this team just because they were a 50-win team last year, like you said. I think that they're going to struggle somewhere along the season. I think it's going to be in the first half, just getting used to playing with each other and all that other stuff. And other teams are excited. Bad teams are going to win games that they shouldn't win because they don't know they're bad yet. That type of situation. And with that, the Mavericks are just going to fall to teams that we don't think they should fall to. Kind of how we're looking at the Bengals, kind of like how we're looking at the Ravens. We're going to sit there and we're going to say, this team isn't as good as we thought they were going to be. And with that, actually, I kind of want to ask you this. So I was watching Monday Night Football the other night, and you saw Jason Kelce. You saw your boy. Look how you say your team, the Knicks. You know,
Knicks are not my team, but Brunson's my boy.
Your boy, Jalen.
There we go. Yeah, Jalen Brunson's my boy.
Your boy, Jalen Brunson, out there, and Jason Kelce had to ask him, do you think it would be easier for an NBA player to play in the NFL or for an NFL player to play in the NBA? In which Brunson responded saying, well, obviously an NBA player because playing in the NFL, not because it's easy. It's not easy. It wouldn't be easy. He did say that. But having a guy like Jason Kelce out there guarding pick and roll, he's done. It's not happening. So, George, which one do you think it's easier? Playing an NBA player transitioning to the NFL or an NFL player transitioning to the NBA?
I think a NBA player going to the NFL. I mean, we have the best athletes in the world that play in the NBA. And just like the simple thing of all the guys that made the transition, a Tony Gonzalez, like a Jimmy Graham, guys like that, where when I picture NBA players in the NFL, I'm picturing like a Tyrese Maxey as a slot receiver. You know, I'm picturing a LeBron James, prime LeBron James, Miami Heat LeBron James, out wide or at tight end. Shoot, maybe even a defensive end as a passing down specialist. But exactly that, like the guys that would translate. Now you could go wide receivers, okay, on the reverse of like an A.J. Brown. I just like this skill of being a good NBA player, an NBA player that makes an impact, is so difficult. It's an unnatural movement to run full sprint and dribble a basketball. You're having this thing leave your hand as you're going full sprint. And then you got to switch hands mid-sprint. It's an unnatural movement to rise up and shoot. Like with football, you catch it, you tuck it, that's it. You don't got to do anything else. I'm not going to talk about an NBA player making the transition to being a quarterback at all. No. But I just think it's easier with the athleticism. You can win on the outside. You can be a cornerback. You can be a tight end. You can be a wide receiver if you're from the NBA, especially some of the elite athletes. Shoot, bro. Imagine Russ as a safety. Like things like that. That's what I'm picturing. Anthony Edwards as a safety or a running back. Like those are the things. But with that jumping ability, you got to have him as a receiver. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, even this. Look at this. The Patriots signed guard Michael Jordan. So even Michael Jordan can make this. No, I'm just joking.
Hey, bro, he had to go in there for some jumbo. He took some snaps at fullback in that Seahawks loss. They had prime MJ from the Bulls.
Yeah, that's the same Michael Jordan we're talking about.
Bald MJ at fullback.
Obviously, that's a joke. They did sign a player named Michael Jordan at guard. For those who don't know, the Patriots did, but not the Michael Jordan. Obviously, that never happened. But you know, my thing is, I'm with you. I think the NBA players would transition easier to the NFL than the NFL would transition to the NBA. And it's this. Every NFL player in the entirety of the NFL would be a winger or guard. Yeah. Literally. Every single one. And if you think that these dudes would have any chance guarding Luka Doncic in the box, guarding Jason Tatum, and then flipping and having to play both sides of the ball, which they don't do in the NFL. Learning how to think as an offensive player and do that creativity and that freedom. Then being solid and physical on defense. Two-way players like Tatum, two-way players like Jalen Brown do that, right? They have to be good on both ends.
Yep.
In the NFL, you don't even have to think that way. You think one way, and that's it. Attack, or, hey, I got to run this route, whatever, right? That's one way of thinking. You don't have to worry about the other side of the ball. These guys wouldn't have the conditioning to do what the NBA players do because playing in an NBA game, 48 minutes, some of these dudes play 40 minutes a night. Bron through many playoff runs, playing 40 minutes a night, guarding the best player on the opposite team, and playing against the best player defensively on the other team as well. These guys wouldn't be prepared for that, and it would take them their whole entire lives to get ready for that.
I just think back to when we see those videos of Myles Garrett, who's one of the biggest dudes in the NFL, hooping, he could play. And then we saw Steph Curry standing next to Myles Garrett and how small Steph Curry made Myles Garrett look.
Yep.
And then how small Steph Curry looks on an NBA floor.
Exactly.
And you can tell me those guys are going to translate to the NBA? Like Jalen Brunson, just in and of himself, like he's eye level with Jason Kelce.
It was crazy. It was crazy to see that, bro. Like eye level, he looked almost as big as he is. Like, and Jalen, Brunson is a small guard in the league. A tiny guard in the league. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he got a small frame or anything like that. He's bulky, but he doesn't look like anything. He's not impressive physically and on the NBA court at all. So, yeah, it's crazy to think that.
The biggest guys, again, like what are you going to go? DK Metcalf, he's 6'4", 225 yoked. All right, he's 6'4".
Right.
He's 6'4". Tatum and Brown would tower over him.
Right. When we did our draft, we could barely find any players over 6'5". You took a guard.
I went to Juan Jones, a backup tackle for the Cleveland Browns, to find a center in the NBA.
Insane. All right. Now I want to talk about this, George. So I was thinking over the last couple of days, some what if scenarios, and I came up with a few that I want to talk about. First, we're going to start with this one. I want to know what you think about this. What if Anthony Davis was traded for Tatum, Brown, and Smart in the 2019 season?
Yeah, I remember that rumor being floated and those reports coming out. Anthony Davis would last 3 seasons in Boston.
Yeah.
Bro, he wouldn't make it past that 40-game season after his 36-game season, which was like his plateau when he was with the Lakers until this past year, like 2023, 2024. That would also be so much to unload. Tatum, Smart. In this one, you put Brown. For an Anthony Davis who's made of glass and showed nothing with the Pelicans of worthy for that trade. It took him 4 seasons to justify it for the Lakers when he finally showed up healthy this past year. I know they won the ring in the bubble, but you feel me on that.
No, I know. I understand.
So if this happened, I don't think that nucleus of Brown, Tatum, and Smart would last in New Orleans either. Like eventually they'd be broken up. And it'd be New Orleans just going through one long rebuild like they are right now. And I think Anthony Davis would be like 3 years in Boston and then probably traded to, he wouldn't allow it to go to Minnesota. Dallas? I don't know. It would have been a loss for both sides, but it would have been a win for New Orleans because he would have been the Boston media with Anthony Davis showing up in street clothes every other game. Forget it.
You would have seen memes of the Celtics logo in a wheelchair 24/7 throughout that time. I'm right there with you because at that time, that was obviously the year that Kyrie was here, Gordon Hayward was here, and at the beginning of that season, obviously we know what happened to Gordon Hayward and his ankles. It was the worst thing that could have ever happened for an NBA tip-off. I was mortified watching that happen in live television. But yeah, bro, so it would have been Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, Anthony Davis, and Al Horford would have been your 4. I don't think that team would have got it done, bro, which is crazy to say, like, at the time with the talent, but, like, they would have just never played.
Exactly. It would have been the Nets. It would have been the Harden, KD, Kyrie Nets.
Yeah.
Would have been Hayward with his ankles.
15 games with that trio together. everybody in Boston would be crying. We wouldn't have the championship that we just acquired over the last year. We wouldn't have this dynasty that we're hopefully building. We would have had to watch Tatum and Brown. Shoot, maybe Tatum wins MVP already if he's out there because he doesn't have anybody, around him. It would have been him and Brown. They would have been the only two guys. So they would have had to go. Tatum would have really been a monster at that point. He would have had to go get 30 a night. I don't think they even
stick together, but you're right. I mean, the numbers would be huge.
He would have had to get 30 a night. Easy.
There was the maturation for them two under Brad Stevens, though, and then into Ime Udoka that had them grow. Mm-hmm. Where I don't know if they get that in New Orleans again. Like, there's not stability in New Orleans where there has been stability in the Celtics through all the turmoil they had to work through of the Kyrie stuff, of him just being so toxic for that dressing room. For Brad Stevens needing to step aside because he lost the locker room. To Ime Udoka taking them to the finals and then running himself out of the city because he couldn't get off Tinder. And then now with Joe Mazzulla leading them, falling short, not even making it to the finals and getting back. Like, there was such a long growing process.
Yep.
And at the same time, too, you have to applaud Brad Stevens and Celtics brass for the patience they had. Like, if they didn't make it to the finals this year, they likely split it all up. But they could have done it after last season. And it would have been justified of Brown going because they think it just can't work.
Here's the interesting thing, though, about this trade that we are both forgetting about and that I just researched to look up. Zion Williamson would have been a part of this team because Anthony Davis, they were asking him like, oh, do you still want to be traded even though you guys got the first pick? You're supposed to get this kid, Zion. And he was like, nah, get me out of here. So Tatum, Brown, Smart, and Zion together. How do you feel about that roster now we're thinking about this?
No one there could keep him away from the beignets and the BBLs. So I don't think it would work, bro.
Oh, man.
And by the time he got to that point, they would be gone.
All right, man.
It's a Zion issue.
You're right. He wasn't staying healthy at that time, and that wouldn't have changed either. But maybe those young guys would have got him to figure it out and kept them out of the clubs and all that other stuff because they were going through it too. And we know Tatum and Brown are generally good guys. Mm-hmm. All right. What about this one? What if we got Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash to stay together after the 2004 season when Steve Nash departed?
I know. I like this. I said, you meant career? Like, no, together in Dallas. Bro, from 2000 to 04, all 50-plus win seasons, one Western Conference Finals appearance. Then after Nash left, Dirk took Dallas, 7 straight 50-win seasons, never had an all-pro teammate. Absurd what he did, and finally breaking through and getting that ring, beating the Heat. I think they do eventually, though, break through and get a ring. I mean, they get to the Western Conference Finals and they run into a San Antonio Spurs team. So it's like they're losing against the best. It wasn't on some fluke loss of how they're falling short.
Yep.
But, Tay, what gets me is Dirk was half court. Nash was full court. The best thing for Steve Nash was going to the Dan Antonio system in Phoenix to let him go, and that's when the MVPs followed. Mm-hmm. And with Nash leaving, Dirk became that leader and became that dude. They were both so damn good, though. I feel like with them two, they eventually figure it out with those two styles that complement each other in a way. Can clash in the style of play, but do complement.
Yep.
I think eventually they break through. But, and more importantly, I mean, it's for Nash to get a ring. Because Dirk, it worked out, bro. One of the all-time greats, an all-time legend in Dallas. Steve went to Phoenix, had good years. You know that, what was it, like 5 seconds or less offense for Dan and Tony?
Yeah, 7 seconds or less.
7 seconds or less, thank you. It looked like 5 seconds or less. It felt like they moved that quick.
They were shooting that thing.
And then it's him ending up with your Lakers with that bad back.
Stop saying that.
I like this one. I think they get a ring, and I just think it's all pure ability of how good those two were. What do you think of this?
Dude. My thing is, so I look past the 2004 season. Well, let me start there, actually, before I look past that, right? My thing is, when Nash departed, the Mavericks had a lottery pick, and with that lottery pick, they took Devin Harris, right? And Devin Harris is a good point guard. Don't get me wrong. I remember the years of him in Dallas being a good guard. He was electric with the basketball, good on the defensive end, great shooter, whatever, but never turned out to be this star that we thought was budding in his career because of injuries. But on the board, because they traded up to get that pick. So if they would have still traded to take that pick, take Devin Harris at that spot, if they traded up and they had Steve Nash, they could have either had Lou Aldeng or they could have had Andre Iguodala. And so my thing is a pairing of Nash, Dirk, and Andre Iguodala, who both were taken within 2 to 4 picks. So, great wings. I'm not saying Josh Childress was already also up there and, whatever. This is a what-if scenario.
It's those elite defensive wings that they could have got.
Right. To pair up with a Nash and a Dirk. You know what I'm saying?
Got the scoring covered.
So, a young Iggy was great. We saw what he did in Philly with, AI and everything like that. He was a great complementary piece. He was young. He was athletic. He shot the mid-range extremely well. We know the 3-ball didn't really start coming along until later in his career. But maybe they get that 2006 championship against the Heat if they have Iggy and they have Nash. They were up 2-0.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this team could have been incredible. I would have loved to see this matchup, and I wish we would have gotten more of it. The last one that I want to ask you about, and this is our last topic for the day, we'll bank one of the topics that we have for the next episode, is this picture that we got up here for our viewing audience. Sorry to our listening audience, but yes, Kawhi Leonard hurting his ankle in the 2017 Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. George, Zaza Pachulia obviously took Kawhi away from us and really derailed his career.
Yeah.
As at least his regular season career. We know that he went on to win Finals MVP and the championship in Toronto, but he's never really been the same player since this injury. George, what do you think about this what if scenario?
It's this ankle, and it was the knee injury he had when he was with the Clippers. I forget who he banged knees with, but driving to the hoop, and he hasn't been the same since that knee went.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they beat this Warriors team. I mean, that's Steph, KD, Klay, and Dre.
Mm-hmm.
But they lose in 6 to the Warriors. But I think it's a long-term effect of like what you're saying, that Kawhi is healthy. I still think Kawhi ends up leaving San Antonio. And I think we get a better Kawhi now, but I think his path is the same. Going to Toronto, getting that ring, or going wherever.
Yeah.
He wanted that superstar treatment by the Spurs, He wanted all that. And he wasn't getting it before this ankle injury happened, when he proved worthy of it, the way he would match up with LeBron. So I think we're in a better place in the NBA now, because I think Kawhi would be a factor with the Clippers, a legit factor, and it wouldn't just be the Jimmy Harden show out there.
Yeah.
And maybe Paul George is still there, so that's their power in the West.
Right.
I think that butterfly effect of the Kawhi thing is so much bigger now than it would have been in the moment against that Warriors team.
I challenge you to think differently, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, let me start here. The Warriors were down 21 points with 8 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the third quarter of game 1 when Kawhi went down.
And
right?
then they swept them.
And then they got their butts kicked. Exactly. So, yes, the Warriors were a dynamic team. They were a powerhouse, 67 wins. You talked about it, Durant, Klay, Steph, Draymond, whatever. We know that. But we don't remember that the San Antonio Spurs were elite contenders as well. 61 wins that year, George. 61. Western Conference Finals, you don't just get there being an okay team. You know what I mean? They didn't just snuff up there. This wasn't the NBA that we got today, where everybody's losing their stars every single series that you go along. This was one of those rare moments where at that time where we were like, dang, they really lost their best player.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now we see that all the time. Then that was nuts to us. So for them to lose Kawhi, they probably could have beat that Warriors team, because honestly, I don't know if that Warriors team was as mentally strong as they were in year 2 and year 3 or whatever of KD. You know what I'm saying? They were just a new team. They were still hearing a lot of heat from that Kevin Durant move. So people were nervous about how good they would really be. And so I don't think they knew that they were the best team in the league yet. If the Spurs came in and won game 1 on that Warriors floor, they could have easily got this team shaken up and maybe have taken the series and then went on to win an NBA championship, which would have given him that superstar treatment.
They're beating that Cavs team.
Yes.
All right, I see what you're saying. Warriors in 7 then. I see the path you're laying out. But I think eventually they wake up.
Yeah.
That Warriors team that's won rings. You know what I mean? There's belief, and then they know. And we know KD loves to be the villain.
He does.
Zaza Pachulia, your everlasting legacy in the NBA, you took away one of the all-time talents and one of the all-time what could be's. What what ifs.
Yeah.
In the league history.
What ifs, What if Kawhi would have ended up getting the MVP? I know we talked a little bit about that last episode, him being one of the best players to never win one. He might have been able to get one off the back of, hey, I'm the champion. I've done this twice now. Finals MVP twice now in San Antonio. And now there's a little more aura surrounding Kawhi going into that 2018 season. And maybe he gets one. Maybe he's healthy. We don't know.
Maybe he wins a ring with the Clippers.
Right.
Hell freezes over and the Clippers actually do something. Hey, he's Dante Campbell. Tay, this is a fun one again. I'm George Bilecki. This is Hold My Banner. Wherever you get your podcast, please like, subscribe, download, rate, and review. Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, we're everywhere. Go to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to watch old episodes, go to the playlist section. You'll see podcast. Go to Hold My Banner. We're right there as well. I'm GB. He's Tay. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Later.
Peace.